Welcome to our September Techbyte. Today's discussion. There we go. Mark, you can see my presentation, right?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, perfect. So today's discussion is going to be a little bit of a change up from our normal stuff. Today we're going to talk about our DDoS attack mitigation. Checkpoint has actually partnered with an industry leader, a company called Radware, to work together, since they, again, are definitely masters at this particular discipline. We work together to protect your network from DDoS attacks. So I'm going to quickly go through this slide deck. So what is a DDoS attack, right? It stands for Distributed Denial of Service. The classic DDoS attack is where an attacker has spent some time and has installed bot agents on various machines. Now they can be PCs, they can be laptops, they can be smartphones, they can be smart TVs, they could be your smart coffee maker. The modern botnet is a little bit less discriminatory on what type of devices it infects. But the attacker will gather a large array of these devices. The users won't even know that there's something bad on the machines. They're responding to a command and control server. And when the attacker decides it's time, he or she has the command controller send the command. All of these machines all at once will flood this victim, let's call it a victim machine, will flood this machine with requests and essentially overload it to where it can't function the way it's supposed to function. Now, this machine we'll see in the next slide can be many different types of things. Traditionally, this was flooding your whole network, but it could change. I hope that kind of sets what is a DDoS attack. Now, over the years, they've, as everything has, they've gotten more complex. So in the beginning, it was simply a large volume that flooded your network, right? You had 100 megabit internet connection. They sent you 1,000 megabits of traffic, and it would just overload whatever machine was, sitting at your edge, and would essentially flood your whole network, right? Nowadays, they get a little more targeted, right? They can overload your firewall with a SYN, with a network scan, or with a SYN flood, right? That's packets that your firewall will try to acknowledge, and they'll send more packets than it can acknowledge, and it bogs it down, and usually will create an opening or a stoppage of service. Any other edge device, right, an IPS or load balancer, can be victim to this same type of attacks as this firewall. And then the more targeted and more probably a little more modern attack style is to attack a specific service, right? So they'll attack your web server with a flood of SSL requests, right? Or a flood of HTTP requests. They'll flood your web app with some kind of app misuse packets. They will inject with your SQL to slow that down and bog that down with requests. But the idea here is that they can flood a variety of targets depending on what they want to attack specifically. The primary goal of all cyber attacks is a service disruption, right? And you can see there's productivity loss, negative customer experience, reputation loss, a lot of things we understand. I left this slide in here for the thing at the bottom. A DDoS attack, perhaps more than, let's say, like a ransomware attack, a DDoS attack is specifically your attackers are hurting your business where it hurts the most, which is your delicate relationship with your customers, right? Having lost time is both, lost revenue, but also customers getting annoyed or upset with your service. So moving on, well, actually, any questions so far? Well, I'll take a quick stop. Any questions so far? I'm gonna check the Q&A, which you can, as always, you can put them in the Q&A, or in the chat. I'm looking so far, I don't see anything, which kind of makes sense to me. Okay, I'm going to continue on. Let me hide these meeting controls again. Okay, so let's talk about a little more recent news. So in Q2 of 2022, which was like April through June, some stats I picked up. The US leads all targets of DDoS attacks with 46% of all DDoS attacks against the US target. China came in second at a distant 11.5%. The DDoS attacks rose steadily throughout Q2. There was around 730 a day. It averaged 730 a day in April, 850 a day in May, and almost 1,200 a day in June. DDoS attacks can last from 0 to 4 hours. Well, let me back it up. The typical DDoS attack will last from 0 to 4 hours. The next longest section is 4.25%, but they can go on and on forever if the attacker has the resources to do it. The longest DDoS seen in Q2 was 29 days long. So some service, likely a specific service like a web server, let's say, was disrupted for 29 days. Imagine, a company whose their website was down for 29 days, or their SQL database was down for 29 days. That's a month. So as you can see, it can be very bad. Now, on average during Q2, the throughput seen in a DDoS attack capped out at around 5 gigabit per second. There are many customers out there, I would say probably the majority, who have an internet pipe less than 5 gigabit per second. So that you can kind of see that that's some serious traffic there. It can be, of course, in the hundreds of gigabits or even terabits. I couldn't get info on the highest throughput seen in Q2. I did see that about a year ago, Amazon got whacked with, I think it was 1.8 terabits per second of a DDoS attack, which is crazy. So what can we do about this, right? Checkpoint, again, partnering with Radware, we offer physical devices and a cloud service. Here's the DDoS protector devices. These sit in your network infrastructure, and they are able to detect DDoS attacks. I show you the previous slide and this slide simply to show you that we have a variety of machines available that can conquer, have a large mitigation capacity, right? The machines themselves range from 6 gigabit to 400 gigabit per second, as well as these connection rates, etc. That chart will be on the test. The basic flow of how these machines work, right? Because you want them to cancel DDoS traffic, but still allow legitimate traffic, right? Essentially, they go through a short flow chart, right? The machine's sitting there listening to traffic. It detects something and says, "Am I under attack?" It characterizes the rise in requests it's getting and says, "Where are these coming from? Are they attackers?" It takes an action. This is most often a 302 redirect, like a redirect request. So basically, it does that like prove you're not a robot thing, and will actually terminate the attack until it is over. Again, another solution or some other thing that's not a DDoS protector is going to see the spike and not really be able to tell what's in the spike of traffic. Here we're seeing that there are good traffic and bad traffic at the same time, and we want to have fewer false positives as possible, right? Fun animations. A traditional non-AI'd solution is going to have to get a manual signature generation, which could take hours. And obviously you're being attacked during those hours. DDoS protector takes up to 18 seconds. It does it through AI. It quickly establishes what traffic is legit and what is not. And these are some of the layers and services available. I don't want to get too deep into this other to show that it's running several different engines all at once. The DDoS protector, it's got the attack coverage is first in class with all these algorithms to look out for floods. It's flexible in its deployment, right? It can be ingress only, it could be bidirectional, but it usually isn't. It can be done through both on-prem and cloud as a hybrid model. We're going to see it in the next slide. Or it can be, solely cloud or solely on-prem. And accuracy, right? We want to continue to have legitimate traffic to our network, to our website, to whatever service it is. So it's behavioral, it's adaptive, it's stateless, right? We're looking for a product that seems a little bit invisible in a way, right? And again, we have the both cloud and physical. You have a hybrid scenario, right? Where if the device will get saturated, it can divert additional traffic onto the cloud service, and they message between each other. Here's the typical cloud one that's on demand, and here's the always on. That's the end of my slideshow. I will again pause quickly to see if there are any questions before I flop over to a very short demo, which is kind of truncated, but we'll at least see a little bit. See nothing in the chat, nothing in the Q&A, which is absolutely fine. So let's get out of PowerPoint. Okay, perfect. Oh, I do have a question. Okay. Ways to protect firewall itself. So I guess that question is, what are some things you could do on the checkpoint firewall to protect it from a DDoS attack, by itself? Yeah, so there are some things you can do to shape traffic and to drop things. There's also feeds you can get, like threat intelligence feeds to that's it live to actually see like live attacks, things that are happening right now, and block them. There's also as command and control servers get discovered, they do become blacklisted in short order. And Checkpoint has the threat cloud, which if you're using that with your firewall, which most of our customers are, that also will give you some protection off the bat. But again, you have to keep in mind that this is a flood of packets that's trying to create a response from the machine. So it's it's still it's still working the machine heavily. Okay, so here's my let me just show real quick. So here's my little lab environment that I have available to me. Essentially what I have is my Radware Checkpoint appliance, management appliance. I have this Windows machine I'm sitting on. I have a Kali device, and I also have a web server out here. This is the management for the DDoS protector. It's done through a web UI. You can, for example, see your protections, which for this, I'm just going to point out. Where is it? SynFlood. So for this specific example, I'm going to point out that you can pop out. Did it time out on me? Yeah, it did. Okay, timed out on me, of course. Okay, let's try this again. This device. Protections. SYN flood protections. SYN flood. So, as an example, here you can see where you set your thresholds, right? This is how many SYN packets will allow through these variety of protocols. In a real environment, you probably would set this a little higher, but for our demo, we're going to keep it low. And you can see here we have like a current attacks table. We also can have a traffic utilization report, which you'll see that I have legitimate traffic coming in as well as some out from this environment as part of the test. So what I'm going to do now is actually attack this machine with a SYN flood. So literally I'm going to go over to my Kali. Kali still open? Wrong one. Kali still open? Yep. Okay. Japan flood mode no applies. Okay, perfect. So the Kali is now sending a flood of SYN packets over to this DDoS attack, protector. What we should begin to see shortly here. Let's go over here. There it is. So it's picked up a SYN flood attack, right? And it's has started. It's ongoing. It tells you the policy it's picking up. It's telling you what the action it's done. It's actually been challenging most of this traffic. It's also dropping some of it. It's beginning to learn about this SYN flood attack, right? And we can actually see now in the traffic utilization report, we should begin to see a spike, right? We see a spike in these packets per second. This is the attack, right? The inbound attack of 25,000 packets, right? So what's actually happening is the DDoS protector is seeing it. It's dropping the majority of it. It's challenging some of it, and we're able to continue working. I will go to my web server. We can continue to access our web server, this is just like the front page of it, to continue legitimate work, right? Didn't mean to do that. Okay, so that's a simple enough example. Let's stop that attack. Okay, perfect. And let's make sure it's stopped over here. Might take a second for it to confirm that it's been stopped. I'm going to let that sit while it confirms. Okay, so the other attack I wanted to show you, and this has a little more to see, is an HTTPS attack, right? So the protector is actually running like a learn and detect mode at all times, right? So let's insert this and go. You can see right here, it's listening on this HTTPS report, and it's going to learn and detect, right? It's seeing this many packets, which is not very many. And so we're going to run the attack now. So back to Kali. Send this attack. Cache is enabled. That should be going. So let's just see if we refresh this, what we get. It sees that the SYN flood attack that we did a minute ago is now terminated, right? It's probably still starting up on the HTTPS attack. Not that one. And what we can see while we're waiting on that to update and actually see the attack is we can actually see how this DDoS protector is catching and interpreting. There we go. Why is it not inserting that? Got my command copied, so there we go. So as we can see, right, it sees all these different packets coming in. It sees them all coming over 443, and it's literally checking the state of these, right? So these top two were authenticated. They were given a redirect. They, perform the activity to show they're not a bot, and they have been accepted. This one's been defined as an attacker. So is this one, so on and so forth. Here's a suspect one. This is what the machine's actually doing, is categorizing these attacks, right? And then again, when we go back into the current attacks table, we now see that there is an ongoing HTTPS flood, right? And we can break out, go over to the traffic monitoring. We'll see that it's heavily flooding us, right? And there's both, and we can actually see now that it's excluding and discarding some of the inbound traffic, because it knows that some of it is legit and some of it is not. And once more, we should be able to access our web server, and we are, right? So the idea of what I wanted to show you, with just this 5-minute demo, is that we're able to look at different types of flood attacks, and we're able to discriminate the traffic and separate the authenticated, the legit traffic and the authenticated traffic from attack and suspect traffic with the AI engine in the machine. So I know we're coming up on like 5 minutes left. That is about what I wanted to show you today. Let me get my meeting commands back. Any questions? So the question I got was, can the Radware device be implemented into redundant circuits? Like if there is an active standby circuit, yes, you can have it run two different circuits to the internet. Much like our checkpoint firewalls, it will actually be able to run on both and fail over or whatever it's got to do. Good question. Looking at the chat, looks clear. Definitely appreciate the Q&A. I'm going to hang for another 4 minutes till 10 o'clock. You're free, of course, to ask any questions you have. They're much appreciated. If not, I really appreciate you guys hopping on, and I hope to see you again next month with next month's topic, and I hope that this was helpful to you. Thank you so much. Oh, we got another question. So can this be trialed or eval? Yes, it's a little bit different process than, like the normal checkpoint, get you a license and fire up the Infinity portal, because we do actually have to get you a piece of hardware. But yes, we certainly can do a trial of this if you'd like to see it. We also have, obviously, more advanced and in-depth demos than the 5-minute one I just did. Okay, thank you. It was informative. Yeah, so thank you so much for showing up and coming. I really hope this was helpful. And if there's any questions at all, feel free to reach out. And we'd love to, if something you want to really explore, we'd love to explore it with you.